Hey guys, it's Shawnee, aka Total Makeup Junkie 101. So today I have my best of 2017 face video. This is one I have to say I'm pretty excited about because we are going to be talking about all of your base products, primers, foundations. Then we're also going to be talking about fun cheek products like highlighters, blushes, contour. You know the drill. We just have a lot of things to talk about in this video. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. My first product category is best face primer. Now I actually have two primers to talk about in this video because I use them in combination with one another. I rarely use one without the other. Sometimes I will use my all-time favorite primer alone. This is my YSL Touche Eclat Blur Primer. I think I've gone through 2 of these containers already. This is my 3rd one. It is just one of the best primers I've ever used. It looks very, very basic. It's like a clear gel liquid with the little gold flakes in it. You know, all those bougie primers have the gold flakes that don't really do anything because you end up putting foundation on top. So the gold flakes are kind of useless, but the texture of this primer is so nice. It's perfectly thick, but it still spreads across the skin. It does give your skin that really, really smooth silicone-y slip, but foundations go on top of this so beautifully. Anytime I don't use this primer, I do notice staying power issues. This does help your makeup last longer. It helps it not get greasy or oily or break up throughout the day. It is a pricey product, but in my opinion, totally worth it. And then the primer I use in combination with my YSL one is my Smashbox Photo Finish Pore Minimizing Primer. I've talked about this so much on my channel. You guys know how obsessed I am with this primer. It is a super thick, how do I describe it? Almost like a whipped mousse, but it's thick. It's like a dense mousse. And when you spread it across the skin, I put it on over the YSL primer because the YSL primer will give all of your skin a nice slip, a nice texture. And then I only use this in my enlarged pore areas, which is right around my nose, on my nose, a little bit on my forehead and on my chin. This primer really does mask your pores amazingly. If you have really large pores, you need to try this out. It also helps mattify the skin. So if you need a mattifying primer, this is a really fantastic one. Alrighty, I broke up my foundation favorites into 3 different categories because in my opinion, foundations are just so different one next to the other. Unless they claim to do the exact same thing, it's really hard to compare, say like a light coverage foundation to a very high coverage foundation to something like a stick foundation. So I decided to go ahead and break up those 3 categories. The first category is just a standard liquid foundation. This is my favorite go-to liquid foundation for basically any occasion. It provides a medium light to medium coverage. It's really hard to build this one up to a full coverage, but it looks so natural on the skin, so skin-like. It's not too matte, it's not too shimmery. I haven't even told you what it is. It is the Elcie Micro Silque Foundation. The shade I wear is Golden Tan, and I love this. It is my favorite foundation to use either on those no makeup days where you just want to put something on your skin to lightly even things out. It never looks cakey. It never looks like foundation. I believe I've described this in the past as the perfect first date foundation because it just looks so skin-like. You still look like yourself. You can still see your little freckles and slight imperfections through it, but it just kind of dulls everything out and looks like you just have a beautiful filter over your skin. My next foundation category is stick foundation. My favorite is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick. I wear it in the shade 173 equals Y445. I love Makeup Forever's numbering system. It makes it so easy to memorize that long serial number when you're trying to pick up your shade. That's fantastic. I absolutely love this foundation. It's actually the one I'm wearing on my skin today. It is super smooth, pretty full coverage. I would describe it as like a satin matte finish. It's definitely a lot more matte than the Elcie one, and it has a lot more coverage than the Elcie one. And what I do is just kind of run this across my skin really quick and then take a beauty blender and blend it all out. It blends into the skin amazingly. I love how convenient it is in this stick packaging. Super easy to travel with, looks beautiful, wears beautifully. I have absolutely nothing bad to say about this. And then my final foundation category is high coverage foundation. I have to say it really wasn't until I got this foundation in particular that I realized what a true full coverage foundation is. I feel like in the past I've described like that Makeup Forever Stick foundation as, oh, it's full coverage. No, 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 no. This stuff, the Jouer Essential High Coverage Cream Foundation, holy moly. This stuff is just pure coverage in a bottle. It has hyaluronic acid in it. It claims to be matte and oil-free. This stuff is a godsend. This is, however, one of those foundations that you really do need to have a full face of makeup going on because it does look makeup-y. Not in a bad way, not in a cakey way. It's super, super thin, but very, very full coverage. It makes your skin look so flawless that if you don't have eye makeup on or anything else going on your skin, it almost looks like too perfect. Wears beautifully, doesn't look overly matte, doesn't dry out the skin. It's just a really nice full coverage foundation. Let's talk about my favorite concealer. I'm not gonna harp on this for too long because you guys already know all about it. The Tarte Shape Tape, the shade I wear is tan. I really do love this concealer. I will say that it took a little bit of time for it to grow on me, but now that it's grown on me, I really couldn't see my makeup collection being complete without it. It is a pretty much full coverage concealer. It blends beautifully. It looks so nice under the eyes. I love using this for baking. Like I'll go ahead and put a lot of translucent powder after I use this and really bake this concealer into my skin, and it just makes your skin and your under eyes look flawless. Speaking of baking, my favorite translucent loose powder, the Laura Mercier translucent loose setting powder. I use this all the time. This is just my go-to setting powder. I use it with absolutely every foundation, absolutely every circumstance. Whether I'm using the Elcie foundation, the Makeup Forever one, or the Jouer one, I always set with this powder. It is truly translucent. It does make your skin, I almost want to say, a little bit more perfected. Now, this is a translucent powder, so it's not supposed to add coverage or anything, but I think because it mattes out the skin so nicely without looking dry, it almost adds this level of coverage without actually adding color. This is my second jar, and if you guys have this powder, you know how much comes in this. So to go through a whole jar of this and repurchase, you know I love it. Let's talk about my favorite powder that gives coverage. Now, I feel like this is something I don't talk about too much because it's something I only reach for on those days where I just need something really quick and run out the door. And I do really love using my MAC Studio Fix powder for that. The shade I have is NC45, and this is a really, really good, pretty much medium to full coverage powder foundation. It's perfect to just dust all over the skin. Again, to just kind of blur out any imperfections, make your skin look a little bit nicer and smoother than it naturally is. And because it's a powder, you don't have to take that extra step with a liquid where you use a liquid and then you set with the powder. This is like your coverage and your powder all in one. Let's talk about my favorite blush. This is going to be no shock and no surprise, and you guys will be able to tell. MAC Gingerly Blush. You can see I have hit pan on it. I love this blush. It is my favorite. It's been my favorite for years. It just gives your skin the perfect, just pinched blush color. However, it's a very neutral blush. So it's not pink, it's not peach, it's not purple. It's just your perfect blushing tan cheeks. I think this is a blush that would work on pretty much every skin tone. If you haven't tried it, especially if you're of my complexion, but even if you're a little bit lighter or darker, I think you will really love this. It is a fabulous blush. All right, let's go ahead and talk about my favorite contour powder. Now, I'm not gonna talk about this too in depth because I don't know if this product is available anymore, and unfortunately, I'm still gonna mention it in case it is or in case it ever comes back. It's honestly the only contour I've used this year because I really have stepped away from contouring, but when I do, I still reach for my Sephora MicroSmooth Baked Bronzer Duo in Spicy Heat. I've talked about this a lot on my channel for quite a few years. I'm pretty sure Sephora discontinued this. If they haven't yet, they probably will soon. So if you can get this, grab it. I really only use this contour side right here. It works so nicely for my skin tone. I know you guys hear that contour powders should be gray toned or purple toned or cool toned, but honestly, if you have a very warm or yellow or almost orangey toned skin and you use a gray toned powder, something about the mix of those two tones makes your contour turn purple, and it basically looks like you have a bruise on your skin, which is not what you're going for when you're contouring. You still want it to look natural, but appropriate for your skin tone. There's just something about the tone of this one and the coloring and the way it blends across my skin. It is honestly my favorite. Let's talk about some highlighters. I broke down the highlighter category into two separate categories. We have my favorite liquid highlighter and then my favorite powder highlighter. So first off, my favorite liquid is the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector liquid in the shade Champagne Pop. I feel like the shade in Champagne Pop is absolutely perfect. It's that perfect yellowy, golden, champagne, pearly shade, not too dark, not too light. If you've never used a Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector liquid before, you are in for quite a treat. These do come in a pump packaging. You get a ton of product in these, and these are so naturally beautiful. You can use these under foundation across your whole skin. You can mix it in with your foundation, or you can just pat it on top of your foundation in the areas that you want it. There's no actual chunks of glitter, and these aren't overly metallic. They're not like the Cover FX custom enhancer drops. This isn't like that. This is a lot more natural. It genuinely looks like your skin is glowing from within, which honestly I love. All right guys, my favorite powder highlighter was quite a struggle for me to narrow down, I have to say, and I settled on this one because I feel like this was the one I was reaching for anytime I really wanted my highlight to look good. It's an expensive product, but I have to say I've never used a formula quite like this that looks the way it looks on my skin. This is the Dior Nude Air Luminizer in the shade number 3, and this is just one of the most beautiful highlights I've ever seen. It's kind of like that drier, stiffer powder that has a super metallic shine on the skin. However, there's something about this color in particular. I have a couple of these Dior ones now, but this shade in number 3 is just so natural looking on my skin. It's one of those highlights that genuinely looks very metallic, but because it matches my skin tone so perfectly, it's not really crazy bright. No matter what eyeshadow I have on, no matter what lipstick I decide to use, it's just perfect. All right, we've got 2 more categories to talk about. The next one is my favorite setting spray, and that has to be my MAC Fix Plus. This one is in the scent Rose, and as you guys can see, I'm almost out of this little guy, and I think MAC is actually making this scent permanent, which I'm so happy about. MAC Fix Plus is not a setting spray that makes your makeup last longer necessarily, but this does make your powderiness of your makeup look more natural. So when you have a layer of face primer, and then you have a liquid foundation, and then you have a setting powder, and then you have blush, and then you have highlight, and then you have contour, and sometimes it just looks like so many layers on your skin, and it almost just looks powdery and looks weird. If you spray some Fix Plus on that, it will just mesh everything together and make everything just look so unison. I've tried a lot of different setting sprays that claim to do similar things that Fix Plus does. They're kind of like the more dewy or hydrating ones, the ones that make your skin look glowy, and nothing does it quite as well as Fix Plus in my opinion. So this is my favorite. And then finally, I did want to talk about my favorite beauty tool. Again, not going to go too much into depth on this, but my beauty blender is my favorite way to apply liquid foundation. Completely soak it in water, wring it out completely until it feels basically dry. It'll grow to basically double its size, and it just makes blending in foundation absolutely flawless. Your foundation looks so airbrushed. It's rare that I get a cakey appearance with my face makeup when I use my beauty blender, and honestly, I think it's totally worth the price. It's such a soft sponge, so nice If you take care of it, it'll last you months and months. Alrighty guys, there we have it. That was my best of 2017 face video. I actually have to run out the door now, so in case I was sounding a little hustly and bustly towards the end, that's why. But anyways, stay tuned for my best of 2017 lip video, which is coming up next week. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys in my next video on Monday. I'll see you then. Bye!